Okay, Cryosphere, welcome to this Winter Blue Ocean update, and also welcome to the 2017 melt season. Because this melt season is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen, the most extreme melt season with regards to climate change and sea ice loss. This may be a good time to familiarize yourself with this plot here, which you are going to see more often as we proceed. So even though we are currently lowest ever for daily sea ice extent and daily sea ice volume, this is not a chart about daily volume or daily sea ice. This is annual volume. And the way you can see that it's not a daily chart or a chart of daily volume is that it's winter and sea ice grows back in winter. It gets higher, but this you can see both the 2013 graph and the 2017 graph. They are going down, and the reason they are going down is because it's an annual volume. And for instance, the reason 2017 is going down in February is that we have less sea ice in this February than we had in February 2016. So yeah, you can see 3 years in this plot, and it's 2017, which is lowest ever, 2013 second lowest, and 2016 last year is third lowest. And for this date, February 10th, 2017 volume is 10% lower than last year, 10% lower than 2016. Which is a lot, because you can only lose 10% 10 years in a row before you are down to zero. And zero can be our keyword because this is a Winter Blue Ocean update. And what we are looking at in the Winter Blue Ocean updates is the timing of the Winter Blue Ocean, or in other words, what year we will have year-round ice-free state. And in the heading you can see that the current collapse rate will give us a winter blue ocean in May 26. And you can see 26 here. It's now as likely in the plot as 2022 and 35. And of course 26 belongs to the 2020s, which is the biggest font here. You can see the 2030s are less likely here. The most likely single year so far is 2021. And I should add that because of a correction in the apps, 2020 is now pretty small, while it was a bigger font last time. So that was an error related to the new year and the getting the correct calendar year from the app. So many of those hits are now in the 2021 basket, which should be good news, I guess. So, moving on, 2026 is, you find that down here, and I showed you the 2020s, the decade is the most likely timing for winter blue ocean, and if you have to narrow it down to 1 year, it's 2021, or at least the first half of the decade. So I should explain this plot. You have volume on the left and you have extent on the right, and the extent decline trend is flat, linear, and the volume collapse graph is rounded. And interestingly, if you follow this extent trend line down to 0, it will take 200 years from now, while the volume trend line hits 0 before 2035. So today I got an email reply from Cambridge professor of oceanography, Peter Wadhams, which you can see here. This is the last part of it, and he basically explains why it doesn't have much respect these days for the UN climate panel. And he says that in the latest reports from the climate panel, they, for the past decade, they have focused almost entirely on two-dimensional ice measures like area and extent, instead of sea ice volume, which Peter Wadhams is the world's foremost expert on, after doing research in the Arctic for 40 years. And it's kind of heartening to, or is it disheartening, to read Wadhams' book Farewell to Ice, and also the rest of this email, where he goes into detail about essentially how he was sidelined. You know, he was a part of the three first IPCC reports, but when the Bush administration arrived, they strong-armed the climate panel, and after receiving an email from ExxonMobil, the Bush administration actually kicked the head of the climate panel and got a new guy from India or something, who was much easier for them to handle. And so you have this obsession with the surface, scraping the surface, the two-dimensional ice. That's all they want to talk about in the reports, roughly. And yeah, Wadham says they prefer the area and extent instead of volume because it's more in line with their models. But I think the key reason is because it makes the decline look more gentle, as he says. And yeah, and you have the small matter of the 200 extra years, so it's no hurry. We can just go along with our business, and so I guess you could say that the IPCC is the best climate panel oil money can buy, you know, because if we were going to take strong climate action back in the 80s when it still mattered what we do, then it would necessarily imply that maybe we would produce a bit less oil in Norway and in America and Russia and Nigeria. It's like if you're going to stop the carbon emissions, it's a very bad idea to keep pumping oil and gas, burning it in our cars and airplanes and in the shipping industry. So the deniers, the so-called climate deniers, they have a very important key point, which is that the climate panel, IPCC, is a political organ. It's has nothing to do with science. It's very clear, and every scientist worth his salt knows that the melting of ice is a three-dimensional process where you have a mass and a volume of ice that needs to be melted. And if you're going to make projections for it, you have to look at the volume, thickness, and not the extent. So that's sort of the scientific truth of that matter. And when we can't have truth, we can have politics, which is what you have on the right side here. And they don't care about what will happen to human beings and civilization when we go down here. They're just saying, like a magician, look over here, look over here. This is where it's happening. And if a scientist like Wadhams wants to look over here, it's just kicked out of the goddamn climate panel, isn't it? But it's kind of funny though. If it wasn't so serious, it would be dead funny. Alright. So, why are people so worked up about this sea ice thing? Well, the sun is very. Uh, the sun makes a very big difference. Now it's mid-February and the sun is returning to the Arctic, and the parts that are white, because I covered with ice and snow, they reflect sunlight back into space, but the darker blue ocean parts, they swallow or absorb sun rays and energy, and it warms up the ocean and melts more ice, and then you have a darker surface, so it's a positive feedback loop, and you will have what I have earlier termed the bomb. You will have a bomb that will be released when you have April, May, blue ocean. Late spring Arctic with no ice at all. If you have that one year, you will have sun will be heating it 24 hours a day the entire spring and summer, and it will increase the temperature of the Arctic Ocean tremendously. And why do we care about that? Well, there's something called methane, which is a carbon atom with four hydrogen atoms. And that's a very, very powerful climate gas, about 100 to 200 times as powerful as CO2. And it's stored in what used to be permafrost on land, but which is now underwater north of Siberia. And large areas of shallow water at about 50-meter depth have like hundreds of gigatons of methane stored in them, and that methane is at the seabed and it's thawing. So the same warming of the planet and warming of the Arctic Ocean that is melting the ice is also having a go at the seabed and thawing the previously frozen seabed and releasing these guys. So yeah, at least it's not going to be boring in the next years and decades to follow the Earth's climate. It's going to be explosive. Maybe if it gets explosive, maybe even Hollywood will catch an interest to it. Okay, bye.